So recently I came across a term called nootropics, which stands for a cognitive enhancing drug, a term which I should have very well have been made aware of. Anyways, let's get on to the presentation. So what falls under the list of a nootropic drug? Well, a lot of them are listed here, being variations of amphetamine, methylamphetamine, monofidil, and amphetamine. These over-the-counter names are actually listed there. But two which are not listed here are, in fact, caffeine and nicotine. Now, what is it that these nootropics actually do? Well, a vast majority of the time, they just increase attention, or memory retention, or motivation. However, there are some variations of this, like you see in methylamphetamine with inhibitory control, or in nicotine, where you see an enhancement in motor control. So what is it that we know about the long-term or short-term effects of these drugs? Well, surprisingly very little. Aside from caffeine, which we've had for literally centuries, as well as nicotine, it's hard to really tell the long-term effects of some of these drugs. However, in the short term, they appear to have non-fatal and not significantly adverse deleterious effects. From this point, we get to the ethics of the decision. Now, is it truly ethical if we do not truly know the long-term effects of most of these nootropics? We of course know the effects of with caffeine and with nicotine, with the latter being very dangerous long-term. Well, unfortunately, or fortunately, some of these products have not been in the market long enough for us to determine whether or not there are significant adverse effects of taking them. However, there is also another moral dilemma with these drugs, a sort of academic imbalance for students who do not want to risk themselves the shortcomings of long-term effects of these drugs. This is comparable to the adverse effects and imbalance steroids within athletes. However, are there some patients in which it would be ethical? Well, I would argue that in certain patients, especially those with decaying brain proteins or demented patients, there is definitely need of cognitive enhancement drugs. Though, would you be able to stretch this to usual students? Now, there's a different dilemma, as the long-term effects will never truly be seen in demented patients. However, in students, you may see adverse long-term effects within their lives. Now we come to the crux of the video. What, if anything, should be done to curtail or support the use of nootropics in campuses? Well, I argue that there should be certain campaigns that discourage and advise against the use of nootropics till their long-term effects are fully realized. However, as a full believer in transhumanism, I feel like cognitive enhancement, whether it be through cybernetics or through biological enhancements, should be considered in future.